very sure that there are persons who must have suffered, you know, in the hands of some of these persons who, with nefarious intentions, and then the matter will now be reported. And of course, there are standards. You know, when you see news like this, it means that some persons who are saddled with translation, and of course, there are agencies just to ensure that government policy is well translated, transmitted, and then complied to. However, because of there are some loopholes to which some of these persons probably were also aware that there could be, some of these persons could also be once upon a time staffs of their agencies who probably have been laid off on account of misconduct. And of course, some of them may still have in their possession, as it were, some of the effects associated with the organization, and then they tend to make replication. And then maybe last month, and then tarnishing the image of the agency, because the public also oftentimes, there are fora where public sensitization, that when you begin to see, when you see any staff, any of their staff, engage them, ask certain basic questions. And when such persons is unable to, then for example, with uniform, you see the name of the officer on it. Then if the person or personnel in question does not have, is not putting on uniform, then you need to identify yourself with your card. And if that is captured and you suspected that you are not being treated well, there are reporters, there are medium to ventilate gathering. It may not be directly involved, but you probably might have been seeing some persons, and you know that this is not how the agency is, captured to, dispense its duties.
Mr. Wells, do you know we have some of the professionals, I mean the legal ones that have been recognized by the government, that are carrying out some professional inhuman activities on the masses, like maltreating them, but yet of course they are one of them. They are not hoodlums like it is being stated here, but it seems anytime these things have been reported, the immediate attention is not given to it as to doing what is required for them to be prosecuted. So what is the best way to handle that one?
Of course, as I said, there is a feedback, a helpline where such persons can approach, can employ to ventilate displeasure or report hearing officers, as it were. And good enough, we have seen some other agencies as to how.
As part of his Phase 100 Days activities, and it attracted widespread accolades from the people as a welcome development. But despite the governor's good intention, the lights were diverted from the public areas and streets, only to be mounted around houses of prominent politicians in the state. That is why you cannot see street lights along the several stretch of the road within the city center now, the source disclosed. Speaking further on the developments, Lafia Gabriel Felix, I was lucky to escape with my life that fateful night, because the hoodlums barricaded the road which linked the Bokan City and Bokan Hari to Shardan Road. I was returning from my office when I suddenly saw some young men wielding big sticks and other dangerous items. They succeeded in stopping me on the road, but before they could get close to where I parked my motorcycle, I sped off through a bush path. That was how I was safe from being robbed. Mr. Wells, I am wondering, is street lights, are street lights things that the people should start demanding, requesting the government to fix, even though they say Governor Abdullahi Sule came up with that initiative to actually install this. But according to them, that politicians diverted his attention, and I'm wondering, if the governor is aware that this street lights is for the betterment of the people and also to combat insecurity, what kind of subordinates who are there to tell the governor that this is not okay, rather fix it in my area. The people in the bulletproof cars, the people with security escorts, the people that you barely see them walking alone, compared to the citizens, to the masses that are mostly alone on the road without security watching over them, without them in the bulletproof cars, without the people that lives are actually in their palms. So how come his attention was actually diverted from installing the lights that is beautiful and good for the state and the people?
Well, if you look at the integrity of that report, I want to consider that arm of the report as allegedly, because we probably may not have access to the governor to give us his own side of the story. But we'll be that as it may, because allegedly as it were, because if they say everything is meant for everybody and you now suddenly realize that some persons are now having access to that thing, the governor should also know that he's entitled to security, what's this money they normally give to governors unaccounted for, security votes. It's part of the expenditure along the security vote to ensuring that as a governor, you put in measures that will help tame insecurity. And oftentimes that the expenditure around the security vote is as in consideration with lofty ideas as the subject matter of this news, which of course the street lights. Because if the city center is well illuminated, it will repel activities of people with bad intentions, because everywhere will be well lightened, and if there are activities that could pose danger to passerbys or persons using the roads, you probably would have prepared yourself to take up precautionary measures. Because if the city center is not well illuminated, the public will suffer for it. And that could be a red flag to persons who probably wants to do business in that environment. We're having the same problem here in Rivers State at a point in time, when government come, they will make promises heaven and earth. And at the very first 2 years in the office, you most likely see all the major roads well lit up. And the moment campaign season is here again, and maybe the incumbent is about wrap up, you suddenly see that some of these generators that powers this street light, the operators or the person who is given that contract will first of all withdraw the generator. And so we begin to now see, the next phase will now be vandals, will now be taking some of these street lights as it were.
Mr. Well, there is something, when it has to do with coming up to the public, especially something that has to do with their own interest. They love speaking up because they want people to hear that indeed the governor is doing this, the governor is doing this. When you say that is an allege, and I'm like, even if the governor has given money to the people assigned to actually take care of that project, and then you realize that these street lights were only installed in politicians' environs. Why not come up to raise an alarm? Why not say something as the governor of the state that is for the people and by the people? Why not, let your voice be heard that at least this is what I asked so person to do, or why is this light not installed here? And then you keep the people in the dark to speak. But now you are in there, you don't speak anymore. You don't see anything wrong, that there is darkness everywhere, and it's not for the betterment of the people.
Two things are involved in that analogy. How about Or could it have been that the same politicians that some of these installations are done, remember they are politicians, could it also be that they are the one who facilitated it with their own personal funds as part of reaching out or doing a CSR to the public, that within the environment, just like when you are coming here to your studio, you will see the CSR your station also did within a, a geographical location where the station is stationed. You will see that in entry there are street lights that is powered by the station. So, and you know that in some segment of this location, there is an agency of government that went about street lighting. So, you most likely will want to conclude that it is the same agency of the government that funded or supported the street lighting within this environment that is also responsible for your own. Okay. But apparently, that is not correct. So basically, because there is a story that could be that this street light that you are finding around this said politician environs could be sponsored by the politicians themselves, or it also could be by their own way of ensuring that the environment is also safe. So two things in that context. It could also be that the government have funded, you know, the project, but the bureaucratic bottlenecks that is associated in the with civil servants may not allow it to come to fruition. You know, it's all about political will and style. There are some persons who they believe that when they want to do something, they will be the one to supervise. Where then you see some person, they will just approve, but they don't do follow up. So it could also be that, yes, it was flagged up, but the style of leadership that the governor, adopted is not the one that will probably mount pressure. You remember the one here we have in Lagos, the former governor, once he gives you a project or assign you a project, he will give you warning and say, all monies have been paid, and I don't want to hear that whatever. So these are things to we can premise around reports as this. That's why we say allegedly, because we are not, furnished with the detailed information. You've not heard from the governor, neither have you heard from the agency or the company or whoever the contractor, that is handling that project. You've not had all these details. And it could be that in your hastiness to just release a public press or information, you will probably be violating certain rights. So for us to be on the safer lane, to be sure as to granting a benefit of the doubt, will make the prerequisite, the necessary question and investigate. However, having been convinced that all interests have been satisfied, and it seems as if the body language is that the governor is dancing to the tone of certain powers that be, that puts him or her in the government, then that would probably be an unfortunate scenario for the people. Right. But be that as it may, the objective of the illumination is to ensuring that crime and criminality is abated so that the people can actually have peace of mind.
All right, thank you so much. And the last story for today is on economy. The Comptroller General of the Nigerian Customs Service, NIS, Bashir Adeniyi, announced that about 120 trucks involved in smuggling food items were intercepted by the service in a 2-week period. Adeniyi made this known while briefing the House of Representatives on efforts to ensure food security in Abuja on Tuesday. The seized grain and essential food items were being smuggled to neighboring countries, including Niger Republic, Chad, Cameroon, and Central African Republic. We arrested in 2 weeks about 120 trucks of food items going out of the country. These are the food items Mr. President has asked us to give back to the local market where the arrests were made. We believe this will drive down the price of food items in these places. Mr. President has directed that we sell directly to neatly Nigerian food items produced locally but which were seized This is one of the ways to address hunger and food scarcity we are facing. We have started this in Lagos. Also, the president has also directed that imported food items seized by Nigerian Customs Service should be sold back to the local markets for resale to Nigerians, Adeyini said. Of course, Nigeria is facing economic hardship and hunger across its 36 states, and the federal capital appeared not to have enough food. I don't know why they're emphasizing more on the capital city to feed its citizens. We'll talk more of exporting food from other countries. I know that the president said something that food should not, they should no longer export food because we do not have enough. And it's not looking like we are the one doing ourselves. We don't want to extend hands to our neighbors anymore, not countries per se. Because if you're having 5 grain of food, instead of it to, sell the other 3, you rather prefer taking it to your neighboring countries that at least they have something. How do you see this?
2 things are involved. Economic activities. Now, those who are involved in these actions or activities knows that the demand for their produce elsewhere is very high. And then you know that we shut our borders against importation. And of course, some of the neighboring countries in question that will benefit from these activities, some of them have change of power, change of government. Some of them are running military style of governance. Some are under civil war already, implying that pressures. And some of our people who also do business there knows the terrain as to what they stand to gain if they place order from home to bring down some of what is required around there. So when you see this kind of news, on one part for them, it's business. But when your business is at variance with national interest, and the national interest in this context is that we have food crisis. And some of these food crisis issues are also sometimes sponsored by external forces and internal forces. Because if you don't want people to go to farm, you don't want them to engage in their social and economic business, what that tells you that in the coming years, 2-3 years, there will be shortage of food. And because there will be shortage of food, then the crime rate will most likely go up. And then the demand for the scarcely available commodity will also be very high. And then inflation is setting in. Which is why, if you look at it at one angle, it could also be a deliberate act by persons that are in power or persons that are out of power in order to underscore those that are in power. 2, also could also be that for on business ground, the act of sabotage, economic, is considered as economic sabotage, wherein you know that the value of what you are going to get outside is way higher than what you will also get from the inside. Which of course, a whooping 120 trucks, that's massive. So the generality of the news is that some persons are doing their job. Some persons are doing their job. And when, look at government policy against it, that when it is being apprehended, you sell back at a cheaper rate back to the populace, which of course will serve as a deterrent to whoever that has not been caught today, that if you are caught, these intending consequences will fly in. So, if people are doing their job, you get more of this. And when you get more of this, it is the populace that will be, of course, there are instances where it was not properly managed, where you have stampede in Lagos. But it can be reviewed, it will be reviewed, it and do. So it's a common thing that happens around when a nation finds itself in a situation as ours.
So what exactly happened to the owner of this product? What happened to the owner of the commodities?
Of course, as government stand position is that when food of this nature is apprehended, the custom is saddled a standing instruction by the president that it should be resold back as long as the integrity of the product is ascertained and the human consumption test the integrity of that is also tested, sell it back to the public at a very reduced cost, so that the one who wants to change the generality of all will, number one, be shortchanged, and more importantly, painfully, that the product is even undersold. So that the people, we can have more than enough and repel of course, you know, when this kind of something happens, they will always find another channel. So even if they find other channels, 10 channels or 5 channels,
this one is already gone.
This is already gone, and they will still be caught. So they will ensure that putting servicing home first before you think otherwise. Or if you can make up with the conditions of government as to doing exports, then well, but you don't want to do that, you want to cut corners. And then you think that your insider, some of them will tell you that they have persons in that insider. But when you're insider and you yourself are caught, then you have yourself to be blamed.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Wells, for staying with us. And to our viewers out there, thank you for joining us on this show. If you miss out, you can join us on all our media platforms. I am Immaculata Irekana. Join us on Facebook and YouTube, Atlantic Television Network, Instagram and TikTok, Atlantic TV Network 1, X Atlantic TV Net. You can also watch us on our website, atlanticnetwork.tv. Do remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Good afternoon.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring on-the-spot news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
People into the country illegally. That is amazing.
Honorable
You human trafficker.
Honorable They are not picking our calls. They made up their minds.
No agreement with the EU, but